Late autumn, 1944. The war was already losing its shape. Villages burned without names. Roads led nowhere. Orders arrived too late, or not at all. The Western Front was collapsing, not in a roar, but in a long, exhausted exhale. And still, some men refused to stop fighting. The German major stood alone at the edge of the ruined farmstead, boots planted in the mud, pistol still holstered, chin lifted with the stubborn pride of an empire already dead. Smoke drifted through the skeletal trees. Somewhere in the distance, artillery muttered like thunder behind a wall. His men were gone, dead, scattered, surrendered. But he remained. "I will not surrender," he said, his voice tight. Rehearsed, clinging to rank like a lifeline. Across from him, the American soldier did not raise his rifle. He didn't shout, didn't threaten, didn't even step forward. Private Daniel Mercer simply stood there, rain darkening the shoulders of his jacket, eyes steady, but tired. Tired in the way only someone who had seen too much could be. He had crossed France with mud in his teeth, watched boys bleed out calling for mothers who would never hear them, learned that anger burned hot and fast, but understanding cut deeper. For a moment, neither man moved. Then Mercer spoke. Just one sentence, quiet, almost gentle. The effect was immediate. The German major's breath hitched. His knees buckled as if the ground had given way beneath him. He dropped to the mud, hands shaking, face collapsing inward as years of discipline, propaganda, and denial shattered all at once. He wept. Not the restrained tears of defeat, but the raw, broken sobs of a man who had finally understood what the war had taken from him. The American soldier did not move, and no one who witnessed it ever forgot the question Mercer had asked, the one that ended the fight without a single shot. Mercer had said only this: "Major, when was the last time you wrote to your mother and told her the truth?" The words hung in the damp air like a bell tolling once. The German major, Hans Keller, though Mercer did not yet know his name, stared at him as if struck. His mouth opened, closed. His eyes lost their hard edge, replaced by something naked and unbearably human. He tried to speak, but the sound that came out was a breathless, broken laugh that collapsed into sobbing. "My mother," Keller whispered, the English clumsy but clear enough. "She thinks I am in an office, that I give orders from a desk, that I am safe." His hands trembled as he finally unbuckled the holster, not with the precision of an officer, but with the fumbling desperation of a son. The pistol slid into the mud with a soft, final sound. "I told her the war was almost over," he said, choking. "Every month. I told her I was doing my duty. I told her I was protecting Germany." He looked down at his knees, now sinking into the wet earth. "And now I do not even know what Germany is." The rain intensified, drumming on helmets and ruined beams. A few American soldiers watched from behind the broken wall of the farmstead, rifles lowered, uncertain. They had expected shouting, a standoff, maybe a shot. They had not expected a kneeling enemy officer crying like a child. Mercer stayed where he was. He knew better than to rush a man whose world had just ended. "You don't have to die here," Mercer said quietly. "Not for lies that won't remember your name." Keller pressed his forehead into the mud. "I have ordered men to die," he said. "Boys, younger than my own brother. I told them it was honor." Mercer swallowed. He had heard this confession before, in different languages, with different uniforms. It never got easier. "You can stop ordering it," he replied. "Right now." For a long moment, the only sound was Keller's breathing, ragged, uneven, real. Then, slowly, painfully, the major reached up and removed the insignia from his collar. He held it in his shaking hands, stared at it as if it were something poisonous. "I surrender," he said, "not because I am defeated, but because I am finished." Mercer nodded once. "Get up," he said. "Let's keep you alive." Word of what happened at the farmstead spread through the company by nightfall, not as a boast, not as a legend, just as something strange and sobering that had happened. The kind of story soldiers told in low voices, unsure how to frame it. "You hear Mercer talked a major into surrendering with one sentence? What did he say?" "No one knows. Something about his mother." Mercer didn't correct them. He escorted Keller to the rear himself, walking beside him through the ruined lanes. Keller kept his hands visible, posture broken but compliant. Once, he glanced at Mercer and said, "You could have shot me." Mercer answered without looking back, "So could you." They walked on. At the POW collection point, a lieutenant raised his eyebrows when he saw Keller's rank. "Stubborn one?" he asked. Mercer shook his head. "Just tired." The lieutenant studied Keller's face, mud-streaked, hollow, human, and nodded. He waved them through. As Mercer turned to leave, Keller spoke again. "Soldier," he said softly, "if I survive this, if I see my mother again, I will tell her the truth." Mercer stopped, looked at him. For the first time, he allowed himself a faint smile. "That's how wars really end," he said, "one truth at a time." The war would grind on for months still. Men would die who never needed to. Cities would fall. Flags would change. But something small had shifted that day in a muddy field. Keller survived the camps. He wrote letters, long, careful ones, to his mother, admitting what he had done, what he had believed, and what he had lost. She wrote back, not with forgiveness at first, but with questions. Then with grief. Then, slowly, with love that insisted on rebuilding. Years later, Keller would stand in a rebuilt village school and teach history to children who had never worn uniforms. He would tell them about propaganda, about obedience, about how pride can make cowards of good men, and about an American soldier who had asked him one question instead of firing a gun. As for Daniel Mercer, he went home after the war to a small town that had not changed and yet felt unfamiliar. He worked, married, raised children. He did not talk much about the war. When asked, he said only, "It ended." But sometimes, on quiet evenings, he would take out a letter written in careful, accented English. It came once a year, always around late autumn. "Dear Mr. Mercer, I hope this finds you well. I am alive. I am teaching. My mother is alive. She knows the truth. Thank you for letting me kneel without killing me. I am trying to deserve that mercy." Mercer never replied. He didn't need to. He had learned something in that muddy field in 1944, a lesson the war had tried very hard to bury. That the strongest victories are not won by breaking a man, but by reminding him of who he still might be.